All right, let me highlight some of the difference between what I've found and experienced so far being in France versus the U.S. With regards to the ease and realities of doing a carnivore diet. Now, first of all, there's plenty of meat in France. I didn't have any difficulties with that. Although, if you go to the grocery store, the overall meat selection tends to be a little bit smaller than you might find in a U.S. shop, particularly with regard to some of the premium cuts. Things like ribeye steaks, which here would be called entrecôte, tend to be fewer in supply. They tend to be much thinner. They cut the meat a lot thinner there. The portion size are quite a bit smaller. They're often 300 grams, which is about a little more than a half a pound, which is quite small by U.S. standards. The meat, again, is cut very thin. There's other cuts like faux filet, which I think is the equivalent of a New York strip steak. And many of the other things there are a lot of butchers here. So a lot of people will go directly to the butcher, whereas in the U.S. you don't see that. Now, many of the butchers here are often halal butchers, which supports a very large Muslim population, which in the area I'm at right now in northern France, there is a significant population there. The other things on the carnivore diet, obviously there's plenty of eggs, no problem getting eggs. The prices, seem to be kind of generally on par with the U.S. as far as I can see, as far as the direct dollar amount. I think the entrecôte or the ribeye steaks that I saw cost somewhere around 28 euros per kilogram, which is around 12, 13 bucks a pound. Again, that's not too dissimilar to what we would see in the United States in many of the different grocery stores, or you probably can still find it a little bit cheaper on sale in the U.S. There seems to be obviously plenty of things like cheese if you allow dairy products on your diet, and France is obviously a rich place to get different cheese. And I've certainly been sampling some of those since I've been here. One product that I don't see in the U.S. that I have been having here in France is something called fromage blanc, or white cheeses. Theoretically kind of equivalent to cottage cheese, but seems to be without the curds. It's it's almost yogurt-like in its texture. And then the other thing that's you certainly can get in the U.S., but it's a very common dish here, is something called moule, or les moules, which would be mussels. And I had some really good mussels along the sort of the beach in a place called Dunkirk, which some of you guys may remember from World War II, or Operation Dynamo back in 1940. They evacuated, Hitler had surrounded Belgian, British, and French forces, and they had a large evacuation operation. They removed something like 350,000 people very rapidly from that area. There is certainly, I think the overall standard of living in France is probably lower than it is in the United States. And I think that's the case through honestly much of Europe. And so relative to the income that people might have, this may be more challenging to afford. Certainly, again, ground beef here would be called something like steak haché, which would be more reasonable. But it's certainly, I think, doable to do it here. My overall impression, again, there's not quite the amount of obesity that you see in the U.S. I mean, there's plenty of people that are certainly overweight, and maybe a few that would be considered obese, but it's nowhere to the extent that we see in the U.S. And I think in part that has to do with a lot of the walking that's done. Quite honestly, walking is much more common here. I walked miles and miles every day since I've been here, and I quite enjoy it, quite honestly. But that's the cities are very much designed in a very different manner, because they were much, Europe is a much smaller place per country as a whole compared to, a place like the United States, where these vast open spaces where without a car would be an impracticality. I think the other thing that I think was of interest to note was while they have some plant-based products in the store, they seem to be fairly, as far as the processed products, like in the United States, we have a lot of the processed fake vegan meats here. I didn't see much of that here. Maybe I didn't go out of my way to look for it. But there's, certainly, obviously, plenty of fruits and vegetables and things like that. So I think more people probably are consuming it in that manner rather so much in the hyper-processed manner. So anyway, that's my initial overall impression. I'll let you know what I find when I get down to Spain. We're leaving for there in 2 days, and so we'll be down in Barcelona and then a little town called Alicante, which is on the coast. I'm looking forward to trying some of the different Spanish meats that I think sound interesting. And of course, I'll let you guys know how it goes. All right, well, take care. Bye-bye. Oh, before I officially leave, there's one other thing I'll be remiss to not talk about, was the fact that they actually sell horse meat in the grocery store. Cheval, which is horse. You can see this in this picture here, right in the main grocery store. So that's something you do not see in the United States, and it's still fairly common in the U.S. And horse meat, obviously, quite a bit leaner. I have not had any. Probably don't plan to have any while I'm here. But anyway, that is available should you desire that while you're here. All right.